Joining me right now, author of a fascinating book, came out in hardcover, now in the paperback. It's called No Angel, My Harrowing Undercover Journey to the Inner Circle of the Hells Angels. We're joined now by the author, Jay Dobyn, today by telephone. Jay, good to have a chance to talk to you. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
I had to ask you, I read through the book, I enjoyed it, and I just wondered, since the hardcover came out and now the paperback, have you heard from any of these people that you work with, the Hells Angels?
I have a dialogue with some of the guys. Most of them, a huge majority of them don't care for me, but there's a few guys who've said, hey, I've read the book, I liked it, you treated us fairly, things like that.
Well, see, I was wondering if you had it all, because it's one of those organizations where it's basically a secret organization, but they don't really want people, outsiders, involved. But since then, you have heard from them. That's interesting, then. Yeah.
Yeah, these guys, they don't forgive and forget. They're not turn the other cheek guys. So, that the way they feel about me is not going to change.
I was kind of interested about, everybody's, I think, heard the term Hells Angels, but you really go into the inner workings of how it works. Can you explain a little bit where it all started, the Hells Angels? This started back in the 30s and the 40s? I mean, it's basically a motorcycle group, but how did it start, Yeah,
it's some World War II vets who had formed a club in San Bernardino, California, and it just evolved. Stronger leadership became involved in it. Sonny Barger, who's an international icon in the biker community, basically drove that club into the international, crime syndicate that it is today. There are thousands of members all over the world.
And it was not originally intended to be a group of guys that did things bad, right? I mean, it was just supposed to be motorcycle guys, but somehow it turned that way. Is that what happened? I mean, it wasn't originally intended to be a gangster group, was it?
No, I think it was some rebellious guys who live life on the wild side, and and eventually it's turned into what it's become, and recognized worldwide as these guys are the kings of the mountain of the biker culture.
How organized is it? I mean, you talk about the different factions. Of course, different cities have their own and certain rituals you have to go through, but they're not really connected as far as city to city, right? Isn't it more individual groups in each city that do their own thing?
Yeah, I think you're probably right on both accounts. From my personal experience, you have individuals doing what they do, but they do that as part of a charter or a local group, which is part of a state in an area. But they have international board members. They have a hierarchy of leadership. They cast votes for club business, and there is a pretty good level of organization and sophistication to these guys.
It seems kind of ironic, just reading your story, a group of guys that are so rebellious and individualistic have all these rules where they have to follow rules themselves. Did you find that kind of strange?
I did, and I addressed that in the book, how I thought these guys promote themselves as not willing to live by anybody's laws or anybody's rules, but their bylaws and their protocols dictate even like the back of the patch, how far the bottom rocker, how many inches the bottom rocker has to be from the center patch. So they don't want to live by our rules. They don't want to live by society's rules. But man, they've got dozens and dozens of their own.
Do these guys feel that we don't, the outsiders don't understand them, and then they're doing things that it's okay, or do they kind of know, we're doing things we shouldn't do, but we don't care?
I think it's the latter. I think they don't care. I think that from my personal experience, they're going to do what they do. They don't care who it affects. They don't care how you feel about them. If you like them, if you support them, that's great. If you don't, stay out of their way.
Occasionally you'll see a group that calls themselves the Hells Angels, or at least something like that on TV, and they tend to do some charity work occasionally. Is that a different group, or is that still the same people, but maybe they're just a face they put on? Is it?
Yeah, it's the same guys. That they have a very, very good public relations propaganda machine. They have their blood drives. They do their toy runs. From one example, I was on a toy run, and you got guys that, have teddy bears bungee corded to the back of their motorcycles, and a few of the guys that were at the toy run 6 weeks earlier had, stomped a woman to death in their clubhouse and drug her out to the desert in a rolled-up carpet and cut her head off. But the public sees the teddy bear side. The public sees these guys holding a blood drive and says, hey, man, these guys, they do some good stuff. Amidst that, you got people that are sponsoring it and participating in it that are, pretty violent, brutal people.
You spent, in this particular project you write about in the book, I don't know, was it Black Biscuit? Is that the name of the project? Or
That was
the
the name of our
undercover?
operation, yeah.
What was that, 21 months you were undercover, right?
Yeah, just under 2 years with these guys.
How did you get in originally? I know as an undercover agent, you have to kind of infiltrate. If you can tell that part of the story, how did you originally get involved, and where they accepted you? How do you approach something like that?
Yeah, it took time. These guys are not they're not receptive to new faces. They're not interested in cuddling up to the new kid on the block, and so it takes a lot of time. Hundreds of hours spent in their presence, just being around them and gaining some trust and some loyalty. And you start climbing the ladder. You start off at the very bottom of the food chain, and then as your reputation grows and as the trust factor grows, then you're let in more and more to the secrets.
And they're not a very trusting group anyway, so that had to be a challenge for. You grew up as a normal kind of middle class guy. I mean, you played college football at Arizona. That must have been kind of difficult for you to kind of put that aside and try and get into that mindset, right?
Well, these guys, the reason they've survived as long as they have and as well as they have is because they're paranoid. That's what protects them. That's what insulates them. They're very skeptical of everybody, especially strangers. So that mentality serves them pretty well in keeping people like me out of their gang.
You talk about it in the book. We won't give it away. We'll let people read about it. But since that project or case ended, you've gone in a different direction because obviously you're covering now. You can't do undercover work anymore, right?
No, I don't work on the street anymore. I've got a pretty generic, tame death job at this point, and it's just it's a matter of circumstance. I had worked undercover for 15 years prior to that case. Mm-hmm. And then, some of the publicity that came from the Hells Angels case, to include my book and some of the television pieces, that's pretty much taken me out of the game, out of the street game.
Did you have to go through a period of adjustment after you finished this particular undercover operation, just for your own personal life? I know you have a wife and a couple of kids. Was that difficult for you?
Yeah, absolutely. That lifestyle is very, very hard on families. I put a huge amount of battle damage on my wife and my kids during that process. And I think people that will read the book will see that, I didn't want to write the stereotypical undercover cop book. It's not a hero story, and it's not a glory story. I try to address, my flaws and my mistakes and the things that I regret. As much as I do the successes. And then in the end, I let the reader decide how they feel about me or what I did.
Yeah, you were part of things that you probably didn't want to have to be a part of, but being an angel, at least in their mind, you had to go along with it. So it really does give you a great picture of what you had to go through in your own mind. And the book is called No Angel. I'm sure you've talked to people about doing a movie about this. Any further word on that, Jay?
Yeah, 20th Century Fox is developing a film, and they're working on their screenplay and in pre-production. So, I'm hopeful that they'll make a film of it and do a good job or something close to accurate as to what the experience was.
Yeah, they'd make an outstanding movie. Of course, you got all the elements of great storytelling there. You got drama, you got crime, and you have somebody trying to right the crime. So I think it'd be a great movie. But Jay, we appreciate you taking a few minutes to talk about it. Again, it's called No Angel, My Harrowing Undercover Journey to the Inner Circle of the Hells Angels, just out in paperback. And Jay, do you have a website you want to direct people to?
Sure. It's jdobyns, DOBYNS.com, and you can find out about the book there and other stuff. I take email messages there, so yeah, check that out.
Great, Jay. Appreciate you taking a few minutes to be with us, and we look forward to talking to you when the movie comes out. Thanks for being with us today.
Awesome. All the best to you. Thanks.